Where is my sign? I saw the sign and it opened up my mind. Hey, everybody, we are live at the Poduty Live Podcast Theater at Harrison's on Corbet Avenue. I've got Bob LeMent from Static Radio joining me tonight. Bob, do you know what time it is?
It's 1:30.
What time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Oh, the only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. It's Bob LeMent. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff? I wanted to sing along. You should let everybody sing along in the back there.
You can
Poduty and the news.
Sing and dance and make romance to the Poduty and the News theme song.
I feel like I'm looking the wrong way. I have to turn. I can't turn my head over there. Okay, we're fine.
It's the original Lionel Richie.
There you go.
Bob, welcome to the show. We've done a lot of things together. We've played trivia. We've done some interview shows together. You've been very generous with some of the events I've done, giving us stories, the background of podcasting, and your podcast, Static Radio. It's got to be, is it 26 years strong now?
Yeah, we're currently recording for our 27th year. At the end of this one, we can rack up another year. So yeah, 20, and that started as internet radio because podcasting hadn't started yet. But we'll just keep saying that because nobody remembers now because it's been so long. They're like, oh no, of course it's been that long. No, it has.
Well, it's like the first 3 Super Bowls weren't the Super Bowl. They were like the AFC, NFC championship game. But now, retrospectively, they're all Super Bowls.
And they're all in Green Bay, weren't they? I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, that's like if you were podcasting before podcasting, but it became podcasting, it's now podcasting.
Right, exactly. That's what people know it as. So you just go with the flow, right?
Well, tell us a little bit about the show and how can people find it?
So you can find us at Static Radio on most of the socials, staticradio.com. And we tell stories. Each week, my co-host and I, Miles Title, we tell a story about something that's happened to us. And hopefully it is either amusing or strange. And so that's typically what we try to do is make it either both strange and amusing or just amusing or strange. And, just to give you a real quick hit from this week. So this week I got bested by a grandma while I was at the pool, and Miles took a tumble whenever he was walking his dog out in the countryside. Now, there's more to it than that, but that's just the beginning.
It's amusing and bruising in some cases.
That's right. Egos as well as knees. So, yeah. Whenever a grandma bests you at the pool, that's a pretty big ego bruise, you know?
You didn't tell us it was at the pool, but congratulations to the grandma.
Maybe, I don't know.
Uh-oh. You have to listen, staticradio.com, find out how the story ends. Does Miles stand up? Or
is he still laying in the field somewhere? Yes, we don't know.
Well, Bob, are you ready to get into our stories?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go. Story number 1. I try to blend these stories with some of my guests' experience. These are going to be a lot of comedy, entertaining, storytelling podcasts. And the first one's a roast battle. I couldn't imagine anything better to start with Bob is going right to L.A. for a roast comedy battle.
Yeah.
It's because the RBL, the Roast Battle League, took over Los Angeles with a live show built entirely around head-to-head comedy battles. No long sets, no drawn-out storytelling, just quick hits, big reactions, and a format that keeps the audience locked in from start to finish. It's a structured chaos in the best way. For live podcasters, this is a reminder that format matters. when you design your show for interaction, reaction, and momentum, the audience does not just watch, they participate. And these are one of those things I love about live podcasting is that chaos element. Anything could happen. You have no control. And in this case, you're really bouncing ideas back and forth off of a co-host. It's, I think roast battles are kind of improv, but in a negative way.
Right. Yeah. Well, the roasting part, right? So that's the, yeah, they don't call them marinating battles or something like that. I don't know. You get roasted, so it can be rather brutal. I did like the fact that guy was wearing a Cardinals hat because I'm from St. Louis, so that was very nice. I don't know if you noticed that or did that in any way for me. But yeah, throw him back up there. Yeah, look at that. Key Cardinals hat. Check it out.
There you go. They don't call them best friend hug and kisses battles. These are roast battles.
Yeah, or back rub battles. I don't know. Whatever you want to get into. I think this is kind of cool. I mean, it's obviously in Los Angeles. That's the place to be for some of this kind of stuff. Although it could happen anywhere, to be honest with you. I mean, these kind of things could be any part of the country, but in Los Angeles, you certainly have the talent pool to draw from, as it were. So everybody wants to get their few minutes on the stage, and so therefore they, they're there to do that. So it's probably pretty good. I have participated in a few roast battles. I will tell you that I'm not the best roaster. I've only been triumphant, I think, once in a roast battle, and that was because I cheated.
Well, it's better than you were going up against a fifth grader. That would be.
Well, yeah. They keep. There is an age limit on a lot of these roasts, so the fifth graders, not always the best. Plus, they'll tell your mom, and then where will you be, right?
And then you'll say your mom. It's
your mom. No, your mom. Yeah, and then everybody's in trouble. And so, yeah. No, the person I was roasting was from India, and so I don't really have a lot of insight. So I actually did a bunch of research to come up with some Indian roasts, and so that's why I say I cheated, because I did a little bit of extra research. Where I think a lot of people in roast battles, it's very kind of guttural and improvised and so forth, where you don't do a lot of background and things like that for people. So that's why I say I cheated a bit. So
you got to dip into the word bank, and this type of concept, even though it's recorded, it's live in front of an audience, it is part of a podcast. So it does get distributed and released. So if you like comedy, if you like podcasts where people get together, if you like roast battles, then this is probably a show you're going to like a lot. So, think outside the box. What can you do with your podcast? Where can you take it? Where can you perform it? And this is a whole show, a whole genre based off of your mama jokes.
That's right. Yeah. All the your mama. Well, the other thing is it's also got interactivity and a live, you can have a live audience aspect of things. So it's kind of a hybrid, right? So you can have people there, you can have people online, you can have people chatting in. I could see, like, with your setup there, you could have another screen up there that just shows the chat, and you can have people online roasting people as they're roasting each other potentially. And so, just another concept to, and with all the advancements that we've had lately with, translation and transcription, I mean, you could really have some fun with that, I think, in a textual sense as well, So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Especially now with all these emojis and everything they're throwing on whenever you do your transcripts and do live transcriptions on the screen. I mean, it's that alone to me is hilarious.
Yeah, you're giving your best jokes, your best material, and all you're seeing is poop emojis popping up through the corner.
You see the birthday cake, poop, whatever. It's flashing on the screen because the AI, interprets things that way. And I think I don't know, it could be kind of interesting to see some of that, honestly. who knows what it'll come up with? Because sometimes, it doesn't interpret everything totally correctly. We do a thing on our website that I started, probably about a year ago now, called my Bad AI Transcript. And so I throw the audio of the show into an AI transcription program, and I post the AI transcript as is. So people's names are wrong. What people are saying is wrong. There's all kinds of bad information in the transcript. The reason I did it originally was because I was incredibly lazy and did not want to read the transcript. But since then, it's come to be interesting because people will search the transcript for things, and then they find the wrong information, which I think is funny.
You would not believe how the transcripts treat Poduty.
Yeah.
Poduty. I get Pudooti, Duthi. I get Call of Duty.
Right.
I spend more time in my transcripts correcting the word Poduty than I do anything else.
Well, you got to be lazy like me and just not correct it. But I realize you're trying to brand yourself, so it makes a difference.
Yeah, my whole life is based on this. I got to get it right.
You got to get it right. That's right. But I think that the roast battle thing would be cool. I think somebody can expand upon this and and make it more interactive than it already is, which would be interesting to me.
Well, could it be any cooler or any more interactive than Car Dealer Podcasts? This is the Car Dealer Live. Took one live event and turned into multiple podcast episodes, extending the life of the content well beyond the room. Instead of one recap, they released a second highlights episode packed with insights from speakers, panels, and industry leaders. And if you want the full experience, you can buy the replay ticket and watch everything back on demand. This is the new play. One event becomes multiple pieces of content, multiple touch points, and multiple ways to monetize. And we see this a lot with conferences where people are generating a ton of material, a ton of videos while they're at the conference, and then they're repurposing that afterwards. So they're going to these events that are full of people who are already interested in what they're talking about, and then they're doing a VIP ticket. They're doing small short videos, TikTok videos, Instagram reels, just to keep that momentum going, just to keep the buzz alive on the conference. I think it's a great strategy to go where your audience is and then make some content for the rest of the year.
Yeah, exactly. You basically, you have this event, you got everybody together, and you can capitalize on that and stretch it out for, like you said, a whole year. Can you imagine? If only I would think of these things. I would just work for a week and then be done for 51.
That's it. You hire one person, and you have 51 videos. You're done.
Yeah, I'm done. Then that's it. Then I can just live my life and not have to do this every week.
I think that's like the Drew Carey Price is Right model. They record one day, maybe 2 days a month, and they're good for. They have half of their shows for the month done. Yeah,
exactly. Well, television was doing that a long time ago. I had a really interesting experience. If you, and this is kind of a weird aside, but I saw the Grand Ole Opry back in the 90s, the live show. It is fascinating to watch how these shows, like you mentioned Price is Right or Grand Ole Opry, any of these kind of things operate because there's such, like surgical precision shows. And now they're taking that kind of production and bringing it into podcasting and so forth, which is kind of interesting, right?
I love the way that when you can scale and be efficient and work one day a week, but you did 5 days worth of work. That's the dream job.
Efficiency at its best. Now, to me, one of the problems that we have, Miles and I, for the show is we've never recorded ahead because we've tried it a couple of times, and sometimes we do it just out of happenstance because one of us wants to go on a vacation or something, and we're always disappointed because typically speaking, because our thing, most of the time we tell stories, it's very experiential. as soon as you record something, something else happens that's way better than what you recorded, and you've already done it. And so then you're like, well, wait a minute, I'd rather talk about what just happened than the thing I recorded the day before. And so we've always kept to doing each week because of the fact that, everything changes so quickly that it's hard for us to like bank a bunch of shows because then we're always disappointed.
That's that butterfly effect. You send a little ripple through the future where
Right.
you pre-record one show, but then now you have another story for the next show, but then there's another story that happens. It could be 4 to 5 weeks before you get back on track.
Right. Exactly. Well, and then just the world changes, right? So if what you're talking about has anything to do with what's happening in the world, you have to do it now because next week it's all gone, right? So you can't, say, oh, do you remember a month ago when these Chilean miners were trapped? Well, anyway, who remembers that now?
Man is never going back to the moon. I will bet good money on that. And then in 3 days they launch a ship to the moon. It's like
Ever since Neil Armstrong passed away, we don't have the technology.
they buried it with them.
It's right. It's in his pocket, his breast pocket inside the coffin. But I do like the idea of what they do, though. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great concept. Going there for the story that we were talking about. Where is your audience at? Go there, perform.
Yeah, go there. Yeah,
get in front of the people that like what you're doing. It's the easiest crowd you ever perform to.
Cars don't change that much; they just get older.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting older, we're a couple of days after this event just happened on March 29th, and this is going to be one I probably struggle with some pronunciations on this one, but La Artistiada podcast is taking their mission off the mic and onto the stage with a live event called Take the Stage, built to spotlight women of color in music. This is not just a show, it's a statement, a fully female-led lineup, ticketed event, and clear vision to grow this into a full music festival. For podcasters, this is the reminder that your show can stand for something bigger, and when you build that around your mission, your audience does not just attend, they support. This was there was all kinds of female artists, there was podcasts, there was recordings going on all throughout this event called Take the Stage. It just happened on March 29th, and this is that example. If this is something that you're passionate about or you're part of a community, bring people together who are like-minded, who have the same thoughts as you, and find your tribe, find your audience, find the people that you can perform to, and you'll have the most fun in your entire life just being around people who love the same things that you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And again, this is another example of kind of bringing everybody's going to be together anyway for a live event. You capture that live event, and then you can bust it out into its component pieces and put it out there, because it may be that there's songs, obviously, right? Not just dialogue, and then everything in between. And so depending on how the show is structured, you have all kinds of stuff that you can do with it. And having a higher purpose is not always a bad idea. I don't think that Miles and I have any higher purpose, but other people do. I think sometimes his higher purpose is just to make fun of me, which it works out that way a lot of times. But it's all good, right?
It's all good in love. Miles has a higher power, maybe, and that's the power is making fun of you.
Yeah. Maybe, could be.
Well, we're going to keep it moving on to our next story here. We've got red carpet to podcast, turning prestige events into content. At the Napa Valley Streamfest, live podcasting is not the side event, it's the main attraction. A live taping of Awards Chatter featuring Bill Lawrence and a separate onstage interview with Krista Miller and Ted McGinley are being positioned alongside major awards and festival programming. These are not casual recordings. These are the headlining moments. For podcasters, this is the opportunity when your show becomes part of the event. You're no longer just creating content, you're creating an experience that people show up for. And this really builds on that idea that we were talking 2 stories ago. Go where your audience is. If you're in entertainment, There's an award show. There's a festival, showcasing local talent, local movies. You can be a part of that. You can be a part of your community talking about the thing that you love. In this case, it's film and television.
Yeah. When's the Poduty Awards?
Poduty Fest. I just talking to Maria Daniels today. We might be doing an award show coming up. So
There you go. See, look at that.
Another get together like we did a couple years ago. So stay tuned. Bob LeMent breaking the news.
Well, I'm just like, might as well. I mean, you got to get the name out there enough to where the AI won't misspell it anymore. It's
right.
it's impressions is what they say. But no, this is another good example of taking an event and making more of it, right? So because everybody can't go, right? If everybody could go, then that would be a disaster. I mean, we've seen that over and over again. Woodstock, prime example, a disaster. And not even just Woodstock in the 90s, Woodstock back then too.
Yeah, the second and third time around, not so good. But the first time, pretty good.
Pretty good. They didn't learn from their first time. They just kept getting worse, apparently.
Yeah, I think people loved the original Woodstock for what it was to the people. But I think the promoters always felt like, man, we really got screwed and didn't make enough money on this thing.
We didn't make all of our money back.
So they're like, we'll try it again.
If you look at that, so that was kind of a precursor to some of this because there was a movie made, right? So Woodstock is a movie from the original one in the 60s. And then each one of those sets that were part of the movie had gotten broken up because people wanted to just see that song or what have you. And it's progressed. And so it's kind of the great-great-grandfather of what we're doing right now and what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the memory of
You didn't
it.
think about that, did you? Now I've blown your mind. You're thinking, why didn't I call my thing Wood Duty?
Would do. I would have. I know podcasting isn't really regulated, but I feel like Wood Duty would get me in front of federal agents or something.
Really? You think so? Okay. Let me think. Podstock. How's
Podstock.
that? Would that be better?
Podstock. Well, Poduty's still shorter. That's only 6 letters, and
I know, but you got pod. This is another idea for you, Jeff. Podstock is where you bring all these people together and do the you do the Woodstock of podcasting. It's called Podstock.
if that's not taken, I'm going to go buy the domain name right now.
Is this live? Hold on.
Yeah. All right, so there's one person watching right now. They're going to don't take it.
Podstock.
Stop saying it.
It's the Woodstock of podcast. Podstock. Oh my God. I forgot what was the story. I love Krista Miller, by the way. I should just mention that.
Big fan, number one fan.
Yeah, number one fan. Yeah, she was on Drew Carey show. Anyway.
Well, speaking of stock, I don't know if is there stock beer. This was one we missed back in November. A live panel discussion on West Coast Pilsners recorded at Brewers Retreat. Now, episode 448 of their podcast. This is a hyper-specific content for a very specific audience, and that's exactly why this type of content works. It was recorded live, packaged later, and released when ready. No rush, no pressure, just value. For podcasters, this is the reminder that not every episode needs to be timely. Some of the best content comes from capturing real conversations in real rooms and turning them into evergreen episodes that can live forever. And if you like beer, and a beer doesn't live forever, it does have an expiration date, but your beer podcast doesn't have an expiration date. It only has a born-on date.
There you go, the born-on date. Yeah, yeah.
We're bringing that
that's
back.
a good question. Everything is getting more and more focused, right? So all of these shows and everything, if you kind of scroll through things, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a podcast about making yoga mats. Who is their audience? I don't know, but apparently the more focused you are, the better you are to capture that corner of the market, I suppose. I've always wanted to combine my love of going to get lunch with a podcast so that I could just go have lunch, because that's my goal. I love to go out and get lunch. And if I could record it and somehow monetize that to pay for the lunch, then I'm all in, right? So anybody who wants to do Lunch with Bob podcast, I'm all for it.
Lunchwithbobpodcast.com.
Yeah, pod lunch. There we go.
Lunch stock.
Or lunch duty. Maybe one of those too.
Yeah, lunch duty. That's good.
Lunch duty better.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Well, it goes by so fast, Bob. This is our last story already.
What?
Coming to us from Goalhanger. They're taking their podcast network and turning it into a 3-day live festival at the South Bank Center. Multiple shows, shared audiences, and crossover episodes for a one-night only collaboration between hosts. This is not just a live show. This is an ecosystem. When you build a network of podcasts, you're not just growing shows, you're building a lineup. And when those shows come together in one place, it becomes an event people plan for, travel to, and buy tickets to experience. You want to take our last story home?
Yeah, well, I love this idea because I'm a big fan of Battle of the Network Stars. And what they did was they took television stars and made them do inane, stupid games. And I think podcasting needs something like this as well. Maybe we'll call it Pod Battle. All these ideas are flowing from me tonight, Jeff. They're all yours or whoever's listening.
How about celebrity stock?
Celebrity stock or celebrity duty.
Yeah.
Maybe that one may be a little bit too much, but no, I think this is great. I mean, they take the network and bring it together. The funny thing that reminds me of PBS used to do this, right? So PBS, when they do all their fundraisers, they'd bring all the stars of PBS on for the fundraising. And I think that is a similar thing. But I do think that with the networks, you have synergy, right? So you bring these people, they're all kind of apart, and then you bring them together and you can, cross-pollinate, as it were, whenever you do that. Because people like to see those kind of things, because chances are across the network, everybody is not everybody's tastes, right? And so, but maybe some are, and then this way you get to see what other things are happening, and then you pick up a more loyal following because of it, right?
Yeah, is it really synergy, or are they just under contract and they have to do it?
I would hope it's synergy. I always thought that when I was watching that Battle of the Network Stars, that all those people really liked each other. If not, they're very good actors.
They all get along. Even better than Battle of the Network Stars was Circus of the Stars.
Oh, circus, exactly. It's a very similar concept with the circus thing. Love that. And it's almost like Dancing with the Stars is in that genre as well, right? So I think we need to, again, the Poduty Studios need to come up with some type of mild athletic competition between podcasts.
Well, when you get off this call tonight, Fox tried this too. They tried to do where they had celebrity stunt men and women.
Oh, really?
They had them do stunts.
I didn't see that one.
So I want you to, when you get out of here, everybody watching at home and listening, go to YouTube and Google Dennis Rodman stunt show. And they did him dirty, where they had him ride a car off a cliff while attached to a crane.
Oh, no.
But they only lowered it enough so that when he swung back, he swings back into the cliff and he gets knocked out. Yeah, it's one of the best. It's probably why they don't do any celebrity shows anymore, because of what they did to Dennis Rodman.
He was kind of like the coyote from the Roadrunner coyote thing. He goes right into the cliff.
He swung out, and then they had the crane on the edge of the cliff, so when he swung out, he could only come back. Yeah. It was not good for Dennis.
Apparently, no scientists were involved in this stunt spectacular to know that.
That's right. It was produced by Aaron Spelling, of course.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't think he had it in him to do anything like that.
Well, Bob, it's so much fun getting together with you on a Tuesday night talking about live podcasting stories. One last time, this is the most dangerous part of the show. I turn the floor over to you to plug, promote, talk about anything you'd like. Bob, the floor is yours.
Well, everybody get ready for Podwood or Podstock or Wood Duty. They're all coming at you after this one. It's gonna be a rash of purchases on the what's your favorite place to purchase website names, Jeff?
You can go to I've been on GoDaddy since like 1997.
Oh, GoDaddy is going to cash in tonight because of this show only, right? So all these things are going to happen. But if you want to hear me ramble on about something inane and silly, you can always come by staticradio.com, at Static Radio on all the socials. And, watch for me to compete in the upcoming games at the Poduty Theater.
Podcasters of the Stars, Bob LeMent. Bob, do you remember what time it was?
It's 1:30 a monk.
What time is it?